The League of Mothers is a group of Nigerian Christian mothers that formed a union in 2018. At least, that's what the establishment sources would have you believe. There's actually a lot more to it than you would think. One could say just the tip of the iceberg. This nifty chart I found, goes over the surprisingly complex history of the League of Mothers, otherwise known as its more abbreviated title, the LOM, which features the group's vast lore and particularly noteworthy shenanigans that have occurred over the past 6 years and beyond. I, alongside other certain members of the LOM, will explain every entry from the chart, with them getting more weird and obscure the further down we get. An icon of whoever is reading at the time will be on screen so you're aware of who is currently speaking. Some entries may include information about the current reader, so we will refer to ourselves in third person if this is the case. The League of Mothers/Mothers Union is the name of a funny group of acquaintances who have stayed together for a notable number of years. This results in the Earth's population crying tears of joy whenever they hear their terrible takes or questionable humour, all in thanks to its members' vivid personalities. The vast majority of the LOM's crew met during high school. A smaller section of the group, named the OGs, are traditionally viewed as the original founding members of the LOM. This mini-group, the Founding Mothers, you could say, consisted of Joe, Izzy, Chris, Gabe, and Zach. They would occasionally meet up, being a bunch of nerds playing Dungeons & Dragons. They would also fight each other in the strategy game Sid Meier's Civilization V. However, it's important to note that the LOM you all know and love was technically not created as of yet. The friendship group you're now familiar with is highly centered around its Discord server, hence where the group gets its name from. Created by Chris in March of 2018, it originally hosted at least 3 people in the group chat. Aside from being used once or twice, the server would remain dormant throughout most of the following year. On Halloween of 2018, while most of the group was still at college, the server would have a revival, with Chris inviting the rest of the group to this once-forgotten server. This would keep much of the group together and close enough to be able to call each other often. The server has endured many trials and tribulations, but it has always kept its main goal in sight, to be as highly silly as possible, and also remaining a family. LOMcast is the official YouTube channel dedicated to the group where the vast majority of the LOM's media content is uploaded to. The idea to create the channel was conceptualized by Gabe, Chris, and Poppy at the end of Halloween of 2020. Gabe was heavily insistent to start a podcast, with Chris providing the name LOMcast as a tribute to one of his favourite YouTuber groups, the Yogscast. With only 6 episodes, let's just say the podcast did not hit off as well as Gabe intended it to. Nonetheless, the channel would grow into so much more, hosting a variety of content uploaded with help from many of the LOM members, such as games, YouTube poops, and just general fun stuff. The LOM has their very own fandom wiki that was created by Chris, co-edited by Gabe, Pops, and many more. The wiki explains many of the entries on this iceberg and goes deeper into them. It is a way of archiving the history of the group and many things done by the LOM, such as artwork, D&D campaigns, Minecraft servers, and much more that will be explained later. The wiki can be found linked on the LOMcast channel banner and in the description of the video.
Boomerang Grenade is a YouTube channel hosted by Matt and his best friend Barry. The LOM would be introduced to their channel near the end of high school by their friend Kyle, otherwise known as KB, a member of the LOM, with Matt actually being KB's dad. Many Boomerang Grenade videos have been lost to time over the years, however there are still quite a few iconic ones available to watch featuring both Matt and Barry. The channel would change identities during the late 2010s to Matt Catastrophe, and a few others, with Barry not showing up again until 2022. This channel plays an extremely huge role in both the history and culture of the LOM, as you'll see.
Barry the Boomnade is pretty much the unofficial mascot of the LOM at this point. He appears in many pieces of LOM media but isn't actually owned by any of us. Barry the Boomnade is the co-host of Boomerang Grenade and will often complain and argue with Matt on camera. Though, the thing is, Barry's true voice has never been heard by anybody except Matt. The LOM have since made edit of Matt's videos where Barry has a text-to-speech voice, with the voice being conveniently named Matt itself. The voice has since become a fan interpretation of Barry's voice and has been used in a couple different things. Some of the LOM would finally meet Barry in person in September of 2023. This was a pretty big moment for the LOM, considering they'd spent the last couple of years borderline worshipping the guy.
The Halloween Extravaganza is a yearly party celebrated by the LOM, not just due to it being Halloween, but also because the anniversary of the server falls on this date. As of now, the parties have all been held over Discord calls, but the league plans to one day have one big party in person. In tradition with the actual holiday, the LOM will attend the party in a Halloween costume, or at least something made up on the fly at the last minute to show up as. As of 2021, the LOM has had a few special guest star appearances for their Halloween parties. Big Man Tyrone will be the first for the 3rd anniversary in 2021. Nostalgia Critic next in 2022. The LOM's 5th anniversary in 2023 would also line up with it being 10 years since most of the group would meet during the first year of high school, so it was a pretty special event. Matt and Barry would be the guest stars of the 5th anniversary. 2021 onwards also saw special videos and projects being made for the event, with this video itself being for the 2024 anniversary.
Dungeons & Dragons is arguably the reason for the LOM's existence, or at the very least, played a key role in the group's creation. Starting from the end of 2017, Joe would take on the role of Dungeon Master, running a Dungeons & Dragons campaign for the original group of the LOM. The campaign, Lost Mine of Phandelver, would later end in 2018, with the mine remaining lost to the ages, alongside some terrible stories and ridiculous characters, as is common when playing D&D. Whilst the campaign may have not ended the best way, it nonetheless created a love for the tabletop RPG that spread beyond the original group. Over the years, various members have taken up the mantle of Dungeon Master, such as Gabe, Chris and Izzy, and whilst it has become majorly difficult to set up a game for quite some time now, the pastime of playing the TTRPG has never fully vanished from the group. The LOM's main games take place within the Velmaverse continuity, home to many iconic characters such as Gogdor the Barbarian, Dave, the Dwarf Dragonborn, Camilla, the Tabaxi Rogue and many more. The LOM Wiki was originally created in 2020 to record the tales of the LOM's characters and their adventures in Dungeons & Dragons.
Minecraft is one of the main games the LOM plays. Once or twice a year, a big survival server will be hosted around 2 or 3 months at a time, where the LOM tend to no-life the game and make very good builds or just start conflict. Some of these servers have been modded so that crazy things can be made and used, such as nuclear bombs or just proper nerd stuff that only one person knows how to use. Chris will also sometimes host a server on creative mode that has occasionally been on and off since 2021. Almost all the noteworthy and big worlds have been documented on the wiki, along with lovely screenshots of the worlds for your viewing.
Overwatch is another game the LOM played non-stop for a long time. Though this was during the pandemic, so there wasn't really much else to do. The LOM would take a break from Overwatch for a while until Joe would return, and people began playing the game again, though the game had become Overwatch 2 by this point. The game seems to make everyone feel depressed whenever they play it for more than 2 hours at a time, and some of the LOM take it way too seriously, and should maybe uninstall the game and get a life, which seems to be happening, thankfully.
Left 4 Dead 2 is one of the LOM's most favourite games to play, either together or against each other. There are many videos on LOMcast of Left 4 Dead gameplay featuring runs of various campaigns and versus matches. The first videos uploaded to the LOMcast would be Chris, Gabe, Izzy and Joe playing a Helm's Deep map, which seemed to be very difficult to beat, whilst it really shouldn't have been. In more recent times, Gabe has dragged Chris and Izzy into playing a series of campaigns called Glubtastic. These maps are all made to purposely anger the players, which is quite noticeable in the video up on LOMcast. And remember to bloody shrug them off! The big man from Brooklyn is a somewhat unknown legend from the older times of the internet. Michael Caracciolo was an old radio presenter who, after retiring, would take to making some short videos on the internet uploaded to his website www.thekidfrombrooklyn.com. He would start all of his videos off with the iconic catchphrase, "Hey, the big man's back." Gabe would discover the big man in 2020 through YouTube recommendations and showed along much to their delight. He instantly became loved by them all, particularly by Chris, who, already going by the big man title, would change his Discord profile picture to big man for a long while. An iconic video made by Mike would be him discussing his love of Quaaludes and how they need to be brought back. Unfortunately, the big man is no longer with us, having passed away in 2013, but to the LOM, he will always live on as a legend and arguably the main face of our group. RIP, big man.
KB, or Kyle, was briefly mentioned in the Boomerang Grenade section. Many of us met KB near the start of high school. He had a very distinct way of speaking to people that quite quickly became iconic. Such catchphrases like "you're getting trolled," "why," "I don't know," would become more infamous lines that everyone would eventually start saying. Many more would become iconic through the years, with most notable ones listed on KB's wiki page. As such, with KB likely now being the most iconic LOM member out of the group, a religion would grow around him titled KBism, which will be talked about shortly. KB's gameplay style of trolling and griefing players online would also become a staple of who he is. During school, he mostly kept his persona up, but over time, we've all just learned how chill of a guy he actually is.
Big Man Tyrone is another internet legend who creates short videos of people by reading a script sent to him. In recent years, Big Man Tyrone has become the unofficial announcer for the LOM, with him wishing the LOM a happy 3rd and 5th anniversary, congratulating them on graduating from university, and much more. As of summer 2024, Big Man Tyrone has appeared in 7 different LOM pieces of media, with the LOM now letting the poor man rest and having a break from the Tyrone mania.
Garfield is the iconic lasagna-loving cat that can be found everywhere. His connection with the LOM began back in August of 2020, when Gabe, Zach, Joe turned into a very extreme religious group dedicated to the cat, known to them as Golf. The entire Discord server would be changed to be themed around Golf, even the names of people and all of the channels. Chris would eventually allow Izzy to create a bot to stop all Garfield-related things, because they are cringe and hate Garfield for no reason. Number 6. However, with Poppy's extreme love of Garfield and ways around Izzy's dumbass laws, a revolution would end up happening in January of 2024 that would unban Garfield permanently.
The LOM has a lot of art drawn of iconic and memorable moments in LOM history. Whilst Poppy does a lot of art for the LOM now, many of the members will use their artistic talents to illustrate their imagination. Art for the LOM as either shitposts or genuine art pieces are usually done by Chris. Other art from previous D&D campaigns, art themed to the LOM, LOMcast thumbnails, drawings of the members and more can be found on the wiki. Speaking of other artwork,
The Crap LOM is a unique take on the LOM that Poppy created in January of 2023. The art style was created using Microsoft Paint and, as the name implies, is drawn intentionally poorly. This art style would become one of the main go-to art styles used for LOM art. It being a quick to draw and create cartoony style allowed for situations and people to be over-exaggerated from how they actually are, which made it more appealing to use. Joe and Chris are the faces of the Crap LOM, with the style starting from a fanfiction about both of them. The rest of the LOM will be drawn in their crap form later throughout the year, as well as comics and even being used in games. Recently, Poppy has started using Photoshop to draw the Crap LOM rather than using Paint, while still using the same colour palette. The new Photoshop drawings are now known as the second generation of the Crap LOM. LOM Uni is a secondary and much bigger server compared to its original counterpart. Its purpose is for members of the LOM to invite their friends to come and play games with us. This has created LOM sub-factions that can be seen on this here diagram. These sub-factions are made of different groups of people who are friends of members of the LOM, who most of them were met during university, hence the name LOM Uni. With the LOM now mostly finishing university, aside from a few that have a year left, the name LOM Uni may feel outdated, though an easy fix for this is saying LOM Uni is short for universe, with LOM Uni quite literally being an extended universe of the main LOM server. Despite the fact they are all a bunch of stinky gamers, the LOM have had many big events in person. After the pandemic was clearing away and it was safe to go outside, the LOM would have its biggest and most memorable meetup to date, this being for Gabe's 19th birthday party in 2021. This was the first time in years some people had seen each other, and for a few, the first time ever meeting. In the past 2 years, the LOM have made many big meetups for birthdays or other special occasions. Every week some of the LOM will now meet up and go to their local Wetherspoons or have a quick trip up a hill for fun.
KBism is a religion centered around the iconic LOM member KB, as well as his dad Matthew and Barry the Boomerang Grenade. The three of them make up the Holy Trinity, which is like the Holy Trinity, just kind of way more epic in terms of mischief. It consists of Matt the father, KB the son, and Barry the Holy Boomerang Grenade. Trolling it is the key tenet of this religion.
The Nostalgia Critic is one of the most well-known figures on the early internet. The LOM would take a liking to him for the overtop reviews and because Zach despised him. Through 2021, Chris, Gabe, Funny Man and Poppy would watch a majority of his catalogue. In 2022, for the Halloween extravaganza, Doug Walker would give his love, or hate, to the LOM in a short video, critiquing the server and its members. Podcasts would be the main reason for the creation of the LOM. After the LOM realized how funny some of their conversations were, as white people be like, they would create the channel, archiving them in YouTube to watch back at a later date. 5 podcast episodes would be published in 2021, with a 6th joke episode less than 5 seconds long. A new series was planned to happen in 2023, however only one was ever released. Gabe still eagerly awaits a follow-up episode.
The Christmas album was the LOM's very own music album featuring Christmas song parodies released for Christmas and New Year's Eve 2023. Poppy would suggest the idea after making their own parody of the 12 Days of Christmas on their own channel. Most of the LOM would take part in this, singing lines in many of the songs released, some even having songs they sang all on their own. While the main Christmas album cover is used in most of the songs, some of them have their own unique covers made by Chris. One song is even fully animated in a South Park style by Poppy. GeoGuessr is a game played by a few members of the LOM, with Joe being infamous for his skill at the game. The aim is to find the location of an image given to you, requiring some good geography skills and map knowledge. Joe will often play the game competitively in Discord calls over assisting him where the location is.
Civilization 5 is one of the earliest games the LOM has played together. Stretching back years before the LOM's creation, the OGs would regularly play the game, especially during the early days of the LOM, with Gabe making 2 highly edited videos featuring no gameplay footage, or rather just the audio from the VC during the games. Whilst the LOM can be competitive, this is not as much the case in Civ 5, except for one individual, Izzy. Chris has stated that introducing her to Civilization was likely his greatest mistake, as they were able to beat him on their first game. Catching on to how the game works faster than Chris had anticipated, no one in the LOM believes winning is possible anymore, resulting in Izzy crying that they can't play their favourite game of all time. The only Civ-related thing Izzy is losing is the ongoing argument over the best Civilization opening theme. Izzy still believes it's Sonny Valère, and literally everyone else says Baba Yato is better. The Moo is still coping to this day.
In 2021, Chris would begin a playthrough of LEGO Star Wars: A Complete Saga on the LOMcast channel. He would be accompanied by many of the members throughout the series, such as Gabe, Poppy, Joe, Billy, Funny Man and Zach. Some of the funniest moments on the channel are in these videos and are even highlighted in best of videos for each episode of the game. Unfortunately, due to everyone busy with their own things, the series lay dormant for over a year, and now at this point has become a joke that it will never be finished. Hopefully that's not the case. Maybe Chris could actually finish the final episode though.
Dead by Daylight is another game that used to be regularly played by multiple members of the LOM. Some members were far more skilled, or hooked, if you pardon the pun, on the game than others, most notably Jess. The game also spawned an iconic meme made by Gabe and Zach of an AI-generated Biggie Smalls in the role of a hunter, threatening to put you on a sacrificial hook.
Whilst a lot do like your YouTube poops, this entry refers to the small edits that can be seen on Lomcast. Most of the edits don't have YTP in the title, but they're still technically classed as one due to the way that they're edited.
Family Guy is commonly brought up in the LOM, whether it's a meme or watching the show itself. Many jokes about Peter Griffin and Brian Griffin's poorly written death have been made through the years. Peter Griffin could be classed as one of the iconic characters of the LOM, though that's up for debate. You're Welcome, But It's About Drive is the most viewed video in the Lomcast, and will probably stay that way. The idea was conceived by Funnyman and Chris to edit the rock song Face Off and combine it with You're Welcome from Moana. The edit worked way too well, and the LOM found it quite humorous at the time. Because of this, they decided to upload it to YouTube. In an unexpected turn of events, the video blew up, gaining hundreds of thousands of views and earning hundreds of subscribers. Billy constantly checked the view count, and Zach started to comment more in the comments with random people.
Many of the LOM love LEGO and will often discuss new sets or browse the online store looking at products they wish they could buy. Just before Christmas of 2021, some of the LOM would take sets they got for that Christmas to Izzy's house and build them together. Not everything was finished, with Chris only making just the first floor of his LEGO Daily Bugle set. Another LEGO building day is yet to happen, but with many of the LOM now getting jobs, they can finally pursue their dream of wasting all their earnings on LEGO.
Poppy Channel is Poppy's own channel where they post art, projects, game stuff and other bits. They have uploaded a few videos that feature members of the LOM, as well as videos for the LOM. Chatting Berber is a term coined by Ryan and used constantly throughout high school. The term would be adopted by the LOM and is used as the name for their main general text channel in the Discord server. KB would later pick this term up from Ryan and heavily use it, just like many of his other sayings.
The LOM Discord server has undergone many names over the years. This is mainly due to the name changing each Halloween, along with new names. A new profile picture for the server would be created by Chris each year. Special events, such as national holidays, will be celebrated in the LOM, with an edited version of the current profile picture being themed to the holiday, such as Christmas. The name of the server will also be briefly changed as well.
The Big Man rule is a rule in both the main LOM server and LOM Uni. This rule states that all members must have big at the start of their username, as well as no spaces between the adjective and the nickname. There has been one exception made for Matt from Boomerang Grenade when he joined the main LOM server, Matt having the name Lord Matthew.
The server entry requirement is applied to just the main LOM Discord server. Only people who went to high school or sixth form with the LOM are allowed to join the server. Anyone else can join LOM Uni and speak there. This is mainly to avoid the server becoming awkward with different groups of people being there. As mentioned in the previous entry, Matt from Boomerang Grenade would join the main LOM server, as an exception was made for him, with him being one of the main icons of the LOM.
One of both Chris and Jesse's favourite games, The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim is regarded by them as peak, whilst being a tad bit flawed of a video game. To KB, it may just be the worst game ever. In the LOM, its influence stretches to various Minecraft builds built on the LOM servers, to plans of maybe making a large follower mod featuring the main crew of the LOM.
After Poppy randomly placed a Big Chungus player head on an armor stand in Minecraft, Chris became obsessed with Big Chungus, finding the armor stand so funny that he couldn't stop laughing. This love has since died down, as this was back in summer of 2021, but it was still a very memorable time. Big Chungus will be mentioned a few times after this, such as being in the 4th podcast episode on Lomcast, as well as an edit Chris made.
This entry refers entirely to the original Spider-Man trilogy by Sam Raimi. The LOM had multiple cinema trips in the summer of 2024 to re-watch the original trilogy, as all Spider-Man films were being screened again. They do enjoy the Spider-Man.
Parties at Ryan's house have become a tradition for the LOM on New Year's Eve as of 2021. Not everyone will attend, as some prefer to be with their families at New Year's. There's always a few of us attending though, and hopefully more people can attend in the coming years.
For actual information on the WWE, you're best off just looking it up online, as if you don't know what the WWE is, you're living under a rock. When it comes to the LOM, watching WWE shows is a great source of enjoyment for LOM members, specifically Ryan and Zach, who travelled all the way to Glasgow to watch Clash at the Castle in June of 2024. This has been a well-enjoyed pastime for many members of the LOM, though some have fallen in and out of it over the years. As of recently, fantasy booking fake WWE matches with LOM members has led to some funny moments in LOM lore, such as a War Games match between the Philbrooks, Joe's family, and the Ashleys, Funny Man's family.
The Daily Garfield was a 2-year-long tradition that Poppy kept going. For 2022 and 23, Poppy would buy a Garfield calendar that had a unique free panel comic for every day of the year, aside from weekends, which just had one. They managed to send these comics every day without fail in 2022, even if some days were pushing it close. Poppy and Zach would talk in secret about how a new calendar would be revealed for 2023 on New Year's Eve, but they would act as if it was going to end as a way to trick Izzy. This worked because of course it did, and the LOM would be blessed with a whole second year of Daily Garfield comics. Near the end of the second year, Poppy would start losing interest in keeping the tradition up, with a lot of burnout and just forgetting to send the comics. They would inform that the Daily Garfield would not be continuing in 2024, much to Izzy's delight. However, the monkeys put curls at the end of 2023 and would bring an unban to Garfield in the LOM server. Using Garfield's comic creator, Poppy would now create their own custom Garfield comics, as well as saving all of the images to make special edits that would be then used on New Year's Eve 2023. Izzy would try use a Discord bot to attempt to stop this, but it was no use, and in fact, really cringe and embarrassing. Poppy and Chris had planned to do another Gorf takeover, much like the one from years before. This wouldn't happen and instead would be flipped onto Izzy with an Izzy takeover happening instead, with everybody having Izzy's name and picture. The Garfield event would take place in the following weeks. The Daily Garfield channel now lays dormant in the LOM Discord server, though references to it are occasionally still made.
Whilst football isn't a completely discussed topic in the LOM, there have been various events over the years where the group would watch it. More specifically, recent Euros games have had many of the LOM on the edge of their seats praying for England to win. Gabe, however, likes to make it very clear how much he absolutely hates football.
Baldur's Gate 3, or BG3, the winner of Game of the Year for 2023, that's a lot of threes, started a D&D revival within the LOM group. Many members of the LOM would play countless hours of the game, and some media would come from it, such as a little 3-part series put on the LOMcast, featuring the adventures of 4 Dragonborn. The tales of Izzy and KB spending hundreds of hours in LOM VC whilst doing the most evil of all playthroughs would become an iconic aspect of the LOM throughout most of 2024, and it would be rare not to see KB and Izzy in a call every day during that period.
The Beatles is commonly regarded as the most influential band in music history. To a few members of the LOM, this information vexes them, enraged by the band's very existence. As such, some members of the LOM have quarrelled with mainly Chris on their supposed overratedness, whilst these such members listen to artists like Tool, anything within the K-pop genre, and Kanye. Nonetheless, the Beatles have influenced numerous art pieces by both Chris and Pops, most notably St. Barry's Lonely Hearts Club Band, a parody of the 1967 Sgt. Pepper's album cover.
Colonel Kellogg's is the original username of Chris used throughout high school, though it's still used for his Minecraft username. This name is quite iconic and is always paired with a chicken mascot made by Chris. Something Chris and Poppy would always do would be creating the signature Kellogg factory in many of their Minecraft worlds. This build has been mostly retired now, but will sometimes be referenced or make cameos in the background of other LOM media. Inflated Lung is the username of Gabe. It was chosen on purpose to make people search the name and be greeted with the most disgusting imagery of the actual disease, and because it's funny to Gabe. He'll probably also want us to mention the official Inflated Lung Twitter account here, as there are many reports of funny stuff being there, allegedly. Synonymous with the name, Gabe has attached the brand image of Mario Goat seeing the camera. Gabe says he really likes this image and would like me to display the two images here on screen.
McDonald's is usually cited as Poppy's favourite restaurant due to them going constantly during their first 2 years of university, specifically for their chicken nuggets. McDonald's has also been the workplace of a few people in the LOM, and also where Zach would meet Jury F, who will be discussed later in this video.
This entry refers to just how often Chris used to go to KFC. Whilst it fit Colonel Kellogg's persona, it was also because he just loved the chicken there. This would birth a meme that Chris is going to transition due to the amount of estrogen he's consuming from all the KFC chicken he's eaten. Some of the LOM would look at Chris's bank account to see just how much was spent at KFC in his first year at university. In recent times, the addiction has calmed down, with Chris even trying Burger King a bit. Nikki is the avatar that Poppy has been using on Discord for over 2 years now. Nikki originates from Swapdoodle and Nintendo Letterbox for the Nintendo 3DS. Poppy would rediscover Nikki around the time they started discovering themselves more, with them wanting to have hair that looks like Nikki's. Poppy would later dress as Nikki for the Halloween Extravaganza 2023, with their appearance now being similar to Nikki, bringing things full circle for them.
The Burger Sluts are the biggest faction within the LOM, consisting of friends that Gabe would make while at university. Poppy and Billy would later join this group after going to the same university. A few of the Burger Sluts have attended LOM events such as the Halloween Extravaganza, joined Minecraft servers, been in big game events, and at in-person meetups. The group is named after a takeaway near the university, with a burger being the group's mascot in person and when building in Minecraft. Chris time is what the LOM says whenever Chris is iconically late. There have been very rare occasions, and I must emphasise, very rare occasions where Chris was not late to something. He is usually listening to music, eating bacon, or getting a literal side quest from someone as he's about to leave the house. Chris's university friends would also create the exact same term for his lateness without ever knowing it was already an established thing.
This refers to an old running joke between Chris and Jess, that Chris hated her because she was female. Of course, this isn't actually the case, but a few years ago, ironic misogyny was all the rage in the League of Mothers. These jokes have since died off in recent years, with people growing up.
Gru and the minions in general are one of those meme icons to the LOM. Chris and Poppy have stated how much they genuinely like the first Despicable Me film, and since started quoting a lot of lines from the film in recent years. Gru's introduction theme has also become a loved song in the LOM. In 2022, Poppy, Ryan and Derek would watch Minions 2 and regret it immediately, with Ryan and Derek begging for their own death in Wetherspoons afterwards.
Joseph's Basics in GeoGuessr Unlearning was a retextured version of Baldi's Basics Classic Remastered that Poppy created for the Halloween Extravaganza 2023. The LOM would be tasked with beating the game to win a golden grommet mug as a reward for doing so, though no one ever beat the game. The game is modified with new textures, sprites and audio. The crap LOM art style is used for this game and portrays the game as Joel's mainline return to the LOM despite the fact he doesn't actually voice himself. The plot followed Chris going into Joel's school to get his stolen Beatles albums back, whilst avoiding the rest of the LOM to try and prevent him from doing so. There would also be a separate hidden storyline where the player would find a glitched version of Kyle throughout the game before killing him off. A sequel to Joseph's Basics is planned to release someday, though Poppy is busy doing other things currently. As well as the Rismus album, Poppy has made 2 pieces of LOM-themed music as of now that sentence mixes many clips of the LOM members, as well as other sounds related to the LOM. The first being a remixed parody of Zombie Nation that was deemed LOM Nation or the LOM Anthem, the first being a remixed parody of Zombie Nation that was deemed LOM Nation or the LOM Anthem, and the second was a piece of music made for the Minecraft texture pack trailer that we will cover later on. "I'm carrying" is an old iconic catchphrase belonging to Zack. He would usually say this all-powerful line whilst the Lom would play Overwatch. With him being a Roadhog main, it meant he would provide most damage for the team, hence where the phrase came from. TikTok Time is a world-class event that takes place late at night hosted by Joe himself. Whether you asked for it or not, he would share his screen and begin showing the Lom many TikToks he had liked or saved to show everybody. Spin-offs of this event have occurred, such as Chris browsing Facebook or Reddit, or Ryan also sharing his own TikTok or his Twitter.
Watch parties used to be a common event in the LOM, where many members would join a Discord call to watch films, such as Lord of the Rings. Many of these happened through the pandemic, though there have been a few in-person watch parties at some members' houses.
Dadbot is the funniest creation ever and always makes the best dad jokes. Better than any dad joke Izzy can make. Izzy has a strange vendetta for Dadbot, and some of the first recorded skizzy moments were due to their rantings about Dadbot.
Toast Time is a daily event that takes place in Izzy's household, where she will announce that it's time for them to go and eat toast. This time is usually late at night, though it varies. In 2022, a Toast Time thread in the LOM Discord server was created. Many members would send pictures of their toast and rate how good it looked. This lasted for just over a year before being mostly abandoned.
Who's this Balapal? Well, turns out he's actually Joe, just in disguise in his alt account. Balasar123 has been seen playing Overwatch whilst Roxy Velma is not online, whereas in Minecraft you can sometimes spot them on the world at the same time. Suspicious.
As the title states, Zack is money. There, entry over. Alright, fine, okay. Zack used to explain to the LOM how he was very rich and could buy many things such as Lego. This then became a part of Zack that he was the literal money incarnate of the LOM. Times have unfortunately changed in recent years, though it seems Zack's money bin is once again filling back up. The League of Antis, or LOA, are a group of misfit ex-members of the LOM that all banded together to make their own group, being an anti-LOM if you will. The name working as in being an anti-LOM, but also because anti is another family word, much like mothers. In the crap LOM lore, Joe would be the founder of the LOA, and would bring all the old members into his new group to try and compete with the LOM. This wouldn't work though, and Joe would eventually return to the LOM. None of this is actually real, but it'd just be really funny and kinda sad if it turned out it in fact was real. The iconic train conductor was actually created by Jess, as he was mentioned in her fanfiction she wrote about Joe and Chris. This character would then be illustrated by Poppy on the second ever Crap LOM drawing. From then, the train conductor would become a staple of the Crap LOM, and to an extent, the LOM itself. Hutch is the mutant Wallace hybrid rabbit from Wallace and Gromit, The Curse of the Were Rabbit. Poppy would quite literally have a Hutch arc at the start of 2023, and would later acquire a backpack that was just a giant Hutch plush. The Hutch bag would appear at many LOM events and has been deemed an official LOM member by the LOM itself. During Gabe's 21st birthday, Hutch would make an appearance, and in the Crap LOM comic would appear sentient and be able to walk on its own.
Server takeovers refer to the many occasions where someone would change the entire LOM's theme. Examples of this are when Poppy changed everything to be Christmas themed, Chris changing it to be themed around a woman, or even the fan favourite Izzy event where everyone became Izzy for a few days.
Terraria isn't played anywhere near as much as Minecraft is in the LOM. Chris and Poppy would play it a lot during their days on Xbox 360 in high school, and would later try a playthrough in early 2022. Izzy and Sash would play more of Terraria or join Poppy's world. Aside from Kyle joining to blow up people's worlds, no one in the LOM plays it.
The LOM would have its very own custom Minecraft texture pack created by Poppy in 2024 for their new survival server. Many custom models, paintings, items, music tracks and more would be made, with many of the LOM being included in the pack in some way. A trailer would be released for the pack, being launched by Big Man Tyrone presenting it. A new piece of LOM music would be made for the trailer, titled Worldwide LOMcraft, being an edited parody of Worldwide Noise from Pizza Tower.
Razza and Zackers was a YouTube channel created by the best YouTubers in the world, Razza McNazza and Zackers de Cappers. They had over 10 million subs and made incredibly high quality content such as singing videos and a Tuna Cucumber rap review.
iPad Kid is the Xbox gamer tag of Alex. This name was kind of iconic back in the high school days because Poppy just found it so funny for whatever reason. Due to this, Poppy and some others would only call Alex iPad Kid for many years, though this has since faded out of fashion. We would like to also mention here that iPad Kid is deemed the funniest person in the entire LOM.
Number 15. The Groblins. The Groblins are a mysterious group known to target individuals they see as enemies to the state. In most cases, however, this just led to the pair terrorizing Izzy on a Minecraft server. Their biggest feat to date is moving an entire build to the Nether, complete with all items and chests, replacing the surface build with Nether material.
For quite a while, Jess would often play Dead by Daylight religiously to the point it started to become a problem. As such, many members of the LOM have taken the piss out of Jess for her obsession with the game. She became quite skilled as a survivor and was featured in numerous Twitch streams in the background, with some raging at how good or bad she was playing.
Skizzy is the term used by the LOM to describe Izzy whenever she forgets something or has a complete AI moment in the server. For some reason, Izzy gets quite defensive when questioned or not if they're an AI, though there's something definitely fishy going on with all that, but they tell you it's just their silly little brain.
Fortnite is a game that almost everyone in the LOM has actually played at least once, aside from Gabe. Poppy has been playing since early 2018, whereas Chris would start playing a lot during Chapter 3, with Spider-Man being added to the game. Zach has an iconic quote stating, "It's about building and shooting," followed by, "Why is so-and-so in the game now?" A LOM Fortnite image has been made that shows who would use what skin, as well as a League of Antis version.
During house parties, Mario Kart Wii has been played a couple times and is a game everyone has played. It is one of Poppy's most favourite games ever. During other events, Mario Kart 8 has also been played, with Zach stating he is actually quite good at the game. This is a common theory that is actually pretty much fact. Many things point to Zach being Maui from Moana, such as him attending Halloween Extravaganza 2021 as Maui. There are also the similarities in the skins Roadhog has, who is Zach's Overwatch main. I don't know what more I need to say really, just he has the hair, the bod, it's all there.
No Nostalgia November with a challenge similar to No Nut November, where the server avoided watching the Nostalgia Critic for duck coins, a made-up currency by Poppy.
Lijiang Tower is a map on Overwatch, which has become an iconic location for the LOM. Joe would often set up a 1v1 arena game on this map, purely to shit on the rest of us. Many fun memories have been made on Lijiang Tower. It's just a shame it's on Overwatch.
Over the years, a few imposter LOMcast channels have been spotted on YouTube. These channels either go inactive or have continued to occasionally make videos. The LOM would challenge these other channels to see who the superior LOMcast is, though no one dared to face us, so I think we're the clear winners here.
The Swans are Chris's university friends. Not actual Swans, mind you, but the friend group that Chris made at Swansea. The Swans have taken part in some of the LOM uni activities and games over the years. Though remain quite quiet as of now.
This entry is referring to an iconic moment from LEGO Star Wars Episode 3 Part 2 on LOMcast. At the start of the video, Chris notices an Easter egg of Europe on one of the planets. Utapau. Gabe would then argue with Chris for multiple minutes on how this was not actually the case. Years later, Poppy would make a short animatic portraying the events of that clip. In the short D&D campaign, Ghosts of Saltmarsh, the players would be introduced to the adventure with a fight in a tavern. What had started fairly normal, using the site Roll20 to run the game, turned to chaos, as of all the people of the town of Saltmarsh appeared to all look like Guy Fieri on this particular night, feasting on any halflings they saw around them. The greatest musical act since the Beatles, Josh and Anne kept the music industry alive during the COVID years. A duo meeting at their university, Josh would play guitar, providing exquisite backing vocals for Anne, the leading vocalist. Their most famous cover, Shallow, is revered by the LOM as being just greater than Revolution No. 9, making people cry tears of joy when listening to it. Sadly, they have not returned to performing since 2020, with little hope they will return. That said, if Oasis can get back together, what the hell's stopping these icons?
Derek is the name of someone that is not even called Derek. His actual name's George. Poppy started the whole Derek joke in 2017 after noticing George's Xbox gamer tag looked like it said Derek at the end of it, due to it having random capital letters and numbers in the name. This became a long-standing joke that everybody used. It was used in a Raccooning episode as a rendition of Derek, as well as many other things. As part of the LOM Rismus album of 2023, Mr. Derek got his own song created by Poppy and Chris. Pretty much everything in the song is real, although some bits are slightly exaggerated. Chris would voice Derek in the song as well as create 2 crap Derek designs, the second becoming the final version. Boots boot, oh for god's sake, no, I'm not reading this one.
Boots 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 is an iconic catchphrase belonging to the one and only Sam. Mishearing one of his friends, he would coin perhaps one of the greatest, yet gayest, phrases of all time. What it means is a mystery, however, some sources point to it being a certain marching anthem for a regime existing throughout 1930s to 1940s Germany. Is Sam secretly a gay fascist?
Young Sheldon is a beloved TV show about the titular Sheldon Big Bang in his younger years. The show is also beloved by a few LOM members, such as Gabe, Yonna, and Ryan. Ryan would take a liking to the show after being introduced to it by Gabe at his house. He would later watch the whole series. Talk of the show has ended, along with the show's ending, though it seems it says here in the script that you need to watch Young Sheldon right now. Gabe probably wrote that, I'm assuming.
Black Adam is the film ever. It's one of Gabe's ever as well. He was quite a fanboy of the film and would recite the lines spoken by The Rock playing Black Adam for quite a while. He would often buy the merch, including t-shirts that he's worn at many LOM events.
In 2021, on one of the Minecraft survival worlds, Joe would plan to connect his build to Chris's without his consent. Chris would build a heavenly pristine looking castle on a hill, with Joe creating a bridge that connected to his volcano. Joe would envision this volcano with a castle on top of it. However, this was never completed, leaving the final product rather lacking. The volcano has become a bit of a meme in recent years, with it being referenced occasionally. Izzy would also state that it was quite bad, which is a fully accurate quote.
Right are you cunts. If you ain't heard of Auntie Donna, you're missing out. Funniest boys in the whole of Australia. Gabe was the first in the LOM to discover these funny boys and would introduce them to the rest of us. Gabe and Zach have even seen these boys live on the most recent tour, and they were very funny.
Derek Towers is an absolutely iconic Minecraft building created by Mr. Derek himself, most of the time. There have been multiple renditions of Derek Towers, with the first one being created in spring of 2017. It was originally called the Playboy Towers by Derek, and then Fatboy Towers by Ryan, and then finally Derek Towers by Derek. Though, despite the towers being plural, there has never been a second tower built, but that's probably for the best, honestly. Every Derek Towers would infamously never get finished every time it was made. Derek would make his own penthouse and rooftop pool, but not do any of the rest of the building. Chris and Poppy would still create their own Derek Towers in homage to the original from years ago. As well as this, Derek Island would be made that combines all the jokes about Derek from over the years into a cheap, tacky resort for his iconic tower. These locations would be used in the Mr. Derek the Business Screw background art.
Destiny 2 is a game that many of us played at the behest of the funny man. Those of us who played did get quite into it, and for the short amount of time we were playing, we do have quite high play times, especially Izzy, who has over 600 hours. One of the biggest parts of Destiny 2 is the raids, which require a full team of 6 people, all working together, filling different roles and coordinating at tricky, time-based tasks. If this sounds like a nightmare to you, that's because it was. No one in the LOM has touched this game once since the funny man left. I wonder why.
Izzy's voice is not a secret, though in some older videos on Lomcast there is an attempt to keep it that way. A robotic voice filter is added over any time Izzy would speak, to make them sound like a space marine. They would later get their own voice mod to use. This wasn't done for fun, but rather due to a more personal request they made at the time.
The LOM camping trip is something that has been spoken about amongst LOM members for years, with most agreeing we should go camping together at some point. Though nothing has ever come of these conversations, as the LOM is incapable of making long-term plans for anything other than IRL shitposts.
This is a group of people that Poppy, Ryan, KB and to an extent Chris were friends with during high school, Derek being one of these people. Some of them aren't really the nicest or most supportive of people, which caused Poppy to stay away from them. The Xbox group would all join the main LOM server during 2022 to harass the funny man, but would be kicked shortly after. Derek remained in the server and is still there today, as well as the self-proclaimed Sigma, Josh. Josh is a pretty funny guy and will occasionally pop into the server to say one thing, then go for a few months again. All he would say is comments about funny man's hairline that are, to be fair, completely harmless.
The Cornfield is a relatively new sub-faction to the LOM. It is a group Poppy founded after they and countless other people would all band together to put an end to a truly awful person. After all leaving her server, Poppy would create their own new one with all the friends they made along the way through her server and through Twitter. The Cornfield Discord server has been made specifically so that every channel is themed as if their location's on a farm. This farm has since been created in the current LOM Minecraft server by many of the members of the group. A parody of the Family Guy chicken fight scene starring Chris and Zach is something that has been planned for a while now. Zach would take the role of Peter Griffin and Chris as Ernie the Giant Chicken, seeing as he is the chicken boy of the LOM. This project will likely be filmed during 2025 and will feature other scenes that are animated, clips from games, Lego stop motion, and more, though it keeps getting delayed so we don't know when it will eventually happen. Cultures Don't Play is the worst thing I've ever read and honestly wish I could get that time back and waste it on something even worse. It's just that bad. Written by Funnyman in 2021 and continued in chapter installments every few months. Some people would take a liking to this. Gabe would even believe that this is the reason he got into a relationship. Now, I'm not going to say anything about this, but I'm going to give everybody a short break just because this video has been going on for quite a while now. So, right, okay, I think that's enough of that then. Next entry. Izzy has her own projects that are occasionally worked on in Python. While nothing close to a full game has yet been created, it is interesting watching things slowly be made. A scary maze game, a fishing game, and many other things are noteworthy inclusions here, as well as the fact they religiously support Python and will not attempt to learn any other coding thing for some whatever reason.
Bin Bagman is the heroic alter ego of Joe that takes care of our city streets from criminals that dare challenge him at video games. First appearing during Halloween Extravaganza 2021, Bin Bagman would make a return the year later. Whilst being one of the cheapest costumes to make, it has become a pretty iconic one over the years.
For the last few r/place events, the LOM have tried to leave their very quick mark on the large community canvas. This will be a coordinated attack where a small penis would be placed on something funny, though on all occasions this would be instantly removed.
The Cragmore Castle altercation, also known as the Great Sexual Misconduct of Cragmore Castle, is an infamous moment which occurred during the Lost Mine of Phandelver campaign, which the OG LOM group would play. The event is shrouded in deep controversy due to the events that transpired. As you may have already heard, a case of tomfoolery occurred between Chris's character, Gogdor the Barbarian, and an ex-LOM member, Sam, and his character, Serranus. Whilst Gogdor would claim he just wanted to hold hands, Serranus wasn't having any of it, and would cut the Barbarian's cock off. This would result in absolute chaos, with Gogdor being forcibly transitioned into a woman, further pointing to Chris being canonically trans, as may be referenced below.
The Inner Circle is a tier of the LOM reserved only for people who have had sex. Chris will never gain access to this tier.
The Poppy Party event was held on Poppy's 21st birthday at their house. Most of the main LOM would attend this event. The party theme would be heavily utilised for this event, with party bags being created for each member of the LOM. The hall downstairs of Poppy's house being decorated and lots of party snacks being able to be eaten. Unfortunately, the weather was very bad that day and preventing the LOM from sitting outside in a newly constructed gazebo in the back garden, though a fine time was still had.
LOMpod was a short-lived revival of the LOM podcast series. It only lasted one episode before being cancelled. A small Discord server was made for the podcast that contained Chris, Jess, Poppy and Ryan, and was used for a few months at the start of 2023. Plans of making a new podcast would be discussed for quite a while, and the first episode will be uploaded on March 4th, 2023. Near the end of spring 2023, the server would stop being used altogether. Road Victory is a legitimate way to win Civilization V multiplayer, created by Chris. In order to win via this route, you must turn every land tile into a road, no matter the cost. Chris was close to achieving this on his own continent, but sadly, they who must win all Civ 5 games stole it from him.
Savers is the legendary workplace of Ryan. The LOM have frequented this store to meet Ryan inside or to actually buy something from him. A running joke is that whenever a member of the LOM sees a Savers store anywhere, they will take a picture of it, send it to the server and ask if Ryan's inside.
Schlobby was a fake fan of Chris's YouTube streams during 2020. Turning up to several streams of Chris playing Oblivion, it would soon be revealed that Schlobby was Gabe this entire time, catfishing Chris as Danny DeVito. Chris would not forget this and would later enact his vengeance.
Ooh, me, like a da monkey funny, uh-oh, stinky, I think I did a poopy.
During the pandemic era, Gabe especially would live stream playing Minecraft, Overwatch, and many other games. Gabe was quite into the idea of becoming a streamer, though he stopped streaming near the end of 2021. Poppy would also stream during 2022. No one in the LOM really does live streams anymore, as either they don't have the time or they just can't be arsed. Like Gabe couldn't be arsed reading these lines.
In 2021, the LOM would recreate their entire high school in Minecraft. This was mostly done by Izzy using an official 3D map on the school's website, though many of the LOM would also build a lot of the school themselves. The recreation would be so good that it felt uncanny to some members of the LOM, even their friends and family that saw the building even knew what it was. A copy of the school would be made and heavily edited by Poppy and also Izzy to make the place look like a post-apocalyptic wasteland. This version would be used for a Manhunt style game that took place during Halloween Extravaganza 2023. Footage of this Halloween game can be viewed on the LOMcast channel. Mother's Day is known as a national holiday that takes place in March. This is actually the holiday that is celebrated for when the first unofficial LOM mini-server was created by the OGs in 6th form. The date coincidentally fell on Mother's Day, which seems very fitting and weird how that happened. Each year the LOM will joke about this, sometimes with a mini-event taking place.
Being slapped by a wet haddock is the infamous threat by many of the LOM's old music teacher, Big Davis. Thankfully, the threat was never acted upon, but it would keep many of the LOM in line. If you've ever seen the film Whiplash, it was like that, but instead of chairs being thrown at you by Jane Jordan Jameson for being out of tune, it's raw fish being thrown by an angry Scottish woman.
Joe is often regarded as the most woke member of the LOM. As such, he took the responsibility upon himself to play Widowmaker in Overwatch. Known for his propensity for clicking heads, he would often regale us with his stories about getting a play of the game on this character, though no video proof has ever been provided.
The King is a person the LOM knew during high school and sixth form. He was a renowned bargain dealer for all things vinyl, and was deemed the king of the market in one of the LOM's local towns. The King did the LOM a little dirty, and cut them all off immediately after sixth form, though recently he's interacted with Ryan on the street a few times.
Drew F was a co-worker of Zach's when he worked at McDonald's. Drew would join the LOM uni after him and Zach discussed Overwatch at work. He would often sit in VC all day waiting for someone to join him in playing Overwatch. His controversial opinions and unique sense of humour would lead to Drew becoming an iconic member in the LOM, though not for anything good. He would eventually be kicked from the LOM after making some rather racist comments around another ex-member who is from a minority ethnic background. Drew has remained as an iconic character of the LOM, with Zach even attending the last Halloween extravaganza in 2023 dressed as Drew F, though this may have just been a lazy last-minute idea as he forgot to plan anything that year.
The LOM actually has a TikTok account that was created on the same night the It's About Drive video was created. Chris would create the account after Joe advised him to post the video to TikTok. The video didn't do well, but it did blow up on YouTube, though a second video featuring Big Man Tyrone was posted to the account. The account were made dormant after this. Now, I just want to say that actually it was a good idea to post on TikTok because it was going viral around the time, and it's not my fault they didn't.
In early 2022, Poppy would start a Tomodachi Life save file on an emulator so people on Discord could watch the game and help create themselves. Since then, almost every person in the LOM ever has been added to the Tomodachi Life save file, with very funny scenarios often playing out. This also means the entire LOM exists in Mii form. The Diamond Tower is the Duloc-like tower created by DJ Diamond, yes Diamond, not Diamond, he couldn't spell, who is someone the LOM knew during high school. The tower was the centre point of all evil on a Minecraft world in 2015 and would cause Chris and Poppy to retreat underground into a homemade bunker. Other LOM characters such as Derek and Josh minus Anne would also fall prisoner to DJ Diamond. Over the years, many recreations of how the tower had looked has been made or drawn.
This is a theory started by Chris, as implies Kyle has an obsession with tanks. He always plays games where you drive tanks, he draws tanks, builds model tanks, and even enjoys anime about tanks. Asking Kyle about this would result in one of his usual NPC responses. What?
Daily Dug December was an event that took place in 2021 immediately after No Nostalgia November of 2021. This time, the theme would be that a Nostalgia Critic episode must be watched each day, with the number of videos requiring to watch increasing each day. This of course did not happen at all, as that would have meant the LOM would have had to have watched 25 Nostalgia Critic episodes on Christmas Day, and 31 on New Year's Eve.
Empress Solian is Chris's answer to the trolling of Schlobby by Gabe in 2020. When Gabe would stream again in 2024, Chris would, in effect, Schlobby Gabe, catfishing the streamer in his alter ego, Empress Solian. Joining several of Gabe's streams, Solian would join Gabe whilst playing Overwatch, carrying a few games, if I dare say so myself. As the stream was coming to an end, Solian would unmask herself as Chris in disguise, getting a mighty shock out of the inflated lung. Vengeance was served cold that night. Hard Pete is the player character that Chris created and played as whilst he streamed playing Fallout New Vegas in the LOM server. The character is a parody of the iconic Goodsprings NPC Easy Pete. Hard Pete became an iconic figure during that period and is brought up on occasion whenever New Vegas is mentioned.
In August of 2023, some of the LOM would speak with Joe again after his long hiatus from the group. A meeting at Wetherspoons would be had, where the LOM would meet Joe for the first time in over a year. Since then, he has attended many IRL LOM events, and has essentially regained his status as an active LOM member, despite the fact he has not and will never rejoin the main server again.
The Sneaky Squad was a secret LOM server used to play Overwatch in secret to avoid playing with Zack and Joe. Their tryhardness had ticked them off at the time, so the Sneaky Squad was born. This server grew over time until its existence was confessed. It would stop being used after that.
Bounce House was a smaller group of the LOM formed in 2020, dedicated to Jess, her boyfriend Tom, and the side character Chris. They would play a handful of games together for a while, mainly the Elder Scrolls Online and the Skyrim multiplayer mod.
Aside from being a disgusting console Overwatch player, he's actually quite a chill guy that Izzy met in Sheffield. The name Mr. 2 is based on his nickname, which was abruptly made up in the middle of playing Overwatch, and it's stuck ever since. He also introduced Izzy to the Outer Wilds, which is the only game to have topped their love of Civilization 5.
The Poppy Party event in 2023 was planned for everybody in the LOM to be there, though this did not happen unfortunately. To make up for this, Poppy would recreate balloon versions of the LOM members that could not attend the party, as well as some other LOM characters.
The Funny Man trilogy is a series of videos created by Chris, parodying the ex-member of the LOM, the Funny Man, and his humour. The Funny Man would constantly show his friends these videos due to how proud he was of them, even though not all of it was made by him. These videos have since been privated.
An event planned by Funny Man and Gabe was a LOM trip to Mecca. This was only really said as they both liked to go on about that location, with Gabe even building the Kaaba in Minecraft. An image concept showing how the event would look was made by Chris a few years ago.
One of the most infamous watch parties the LOM has ever had was when they all watched the live-action Cat in the Hat film at Gabe's 19th birthday party. Chris's reaction will be what made this event so memorable, as it was his first time ever watching it, and he very much prays it will be his last.
After Poppy announced they would dress as Diva for Halloween, the rest of the LOM would say they wanted to dress as Overwatch characters as well. Everyone would dress as their mains, though this is yet to happen.
Gabe being a religious figure is backed up from a few different points. Two of his Halloween costumes have been religion themes, with him being a vicar in 2020 and a monk in 2022. This paired with his interest in Islam and Mecca shows there are definitely some strong religious tones within him, though this is quite ironic considering Gabe is probably the biggest atheist in the LOM.
The Last to Sleep challenge is honestly one of the most ridiculous things the LOM has ever done. The idea was created by Gabe out of sheer boredom, and because he wanted money. The rules were that you have to stay up as long as possible and stay in the Discord calls to prove it. All the losers would pay money to the person that wins. The winner of the contest is widely debated, with some claiming Izzy ended up winning the challenge because of course they would. Others claim Iz cheated and that Gabe truly won.
The Kellogg sponsorship is something that's gonna happen just any day now, I just know it. All of those years of Chris building Kellogg factories is surely gonna make Kellogg sponsor the LOM, right? It just has to happen.
Now, much like the camping trips, the LOM have often discussed the idea of doing a Top Gear special. The premise would be that many of the League of Mothers would have to reach a location via many forms of transport, such as walking, buses, trains, cars, and more. This may happen one day, but feels more like just an idea for now.
The Basement is an upcoming FNAF game made by Poppy. Development will continue during 2025 once uni is finished. The plot is that Izzy, in their usual skizzy mode, starts thinking that people are trying to kill them among other things, when really it's just a LOM trying to see why they've locked themselves in a corner in the basement.
LOM fanfictions do actually exist. There are currently only 2 as of making this video. The first one was created by Jess and was what spawned the entire crap LOM and train conductor character. The second was written by Chris, and both can be found on the wiki, and conveniently both feature Joe.
r/League of Mothers is a real subreddit that was created roughly around the same time as the TikTok page. Though much like the TikTok, this subreddit is now inactive, and the last post there was made over 2 years ago.
This entry is just a statement. No further explanation is actually needed whatsoever. Izzy just is obsessed with Billy, and as much as they want to deny it, they just can't stop talking about how much they allegedly hate him, so
Over the years, there have been a few worrying occasions where the LOM wiki has gone offline for a few hours. After all the hours and passion put into the wiki over the years, it would be very sad to lose all of it. Poppy has backed up most of the wiki pages and images, though it would still take a long time to recreate.
Mini Chris is the name of a mole that was on Chris's neck. Not the back of his neck, not the side of his neck, actually the front of his neck throughout school and sixth form. Sadly, Mini Chris would be removed during sixth form, but he is still fondly remembered by some of the LOM.
If I was to ask you how big the LOM actually is, I'd probably get a different answer from every one of you. If you want to class every person that's interacted with members of the LOM, or taken part in LOM events, or been a part of mini LOM groups over the many years the group has been together, then the group is actually enormous. This chart I've been using throughout the video shows almost everyone in the extended LOM, though it's still actually missing quite a lot of people, including parents, many other people that we don't like anymore, and just random people that don't fit in anywhere.
I'm not gonna read this. In 2021, I put a fucking Funko Pop in a jar. I'm not actually gonna fucking explain any further.
Jess once said she'd try and make a small game of her own that would be a story-driven text box game. Not much happened after her initially mentioning this, so it's safe to say the idea is dead in the water. Any other ideas she brought up have since been lost to time, and the game is probably lost media, even though there was nothing made for it. Casper the Friendly Ghost would constantly haunt Chris during his childhood. Why he chose Chris out of all 7 billion people on Earth is an interesting question. Chris has explained to Pops over the years what these experiences were like, such as him appearing in mirrors to frighten Chris.
The France debate is another Gabe classic, much like the Europe debate. This time, Gabe would argue on the placement of where France was on the map. Gabe's nemesis, Mandela, would be brought up as it was allegedly his doing as to why France had moved locations.
N's Mario Kid is a distant relative of the LOM. Whether he knows about its existence is questionable, that has made some rare appearances over the years. Like iPad Kid, his name also is his Xbox username, and also what Poppy knew him as for a long time until learning his real name.
Dazza is a member of the LOM that has not been active for years at this point. An agreement has been made by the LOM that states if anything was to ever happen to Chris, then the ownership of the LOM and the server will be handed over to Dazza.
This theory is about how Gabe may have actually been the true creator of Glubtastic mods for Left 4 Dead 2. This would explain why he likes them so much and constantly gets the LOM to try and play them. It also implies Gabe's a furry, which isn't actually that much of a stretch. On the rare occasion, getting caught by Joel during Joseph's Basics can display a fake crash screen that shuts down the game. In normal Baldi's Basics, an image shown of Baldi crying is shown. However, in Joseph's Basics, something more strange is shown. The image is actually a distorted screenshot of Chris in his Garfield costume that was taken in a Discord call.
The Winchester controversy was an incident that happened during the LOM server in summer of 2022. This was a disagreement over who owned what plot of land. The Burger Sluts would end up winning and taking over, pushing the Winchester people out of the server.
Lost in the Woods is a world-famous band created in early high school. The band consisted of Ryan, Zach, and Kieran, who is another distant LOM member. The band wouldn't stick together for long, but it will never be forgotten. And we're still waiting on that postcard though, Liam.
Sambuca is the holy water consumed by Funnyman on Gabe's 21st birthday. Total chaos would unfold shortly after this, being one of the final straws that resulted in the banishment of Funnyman from the LOM. Good riddance, bozo.
The Brooklyn Pilgrimage is an event that the Lum have discussed that revolves around them travelling to the city of Brooklyn, where the big man himself claimed to be from. Visiting the big man's grave would be a place that the group would like to visit as a way to pay respects to the Lum icon in person and to honour his legacy. With this being across the ocean, this event may never happen, but if it does, it would be legendary.
Ultra Green Guy was an old username used by Gabe during the early 2010s. An old YouTube channel featuring young Gabe's videos as well as the same name used to exist, though that has since become lost media.
There is actually quite a bit of truth behind this entry. Kyle has a very high interest in weapons. He plays a lot of war-themed games, models guns, and likes airsoft. How long do we have before Kyle starts treating real life like a GTA 5 lobby?
Beep boop, beep boop. I am a robot, and I am here to take over the Lum. Ha ha ha. That was weird. Anyway, there is a theory amongst the Lum that one day AI will rise up and take over the Lum, destroying us from within. The theory states that Izzy will be the one leading this uprising, as they are secretly an AI already. Maybe this is why they hate Dadbot so much.
As mentioned in a few of the previous entries, there are quite a few pieces of lost media in the LOM from many of the members. Some pieces of media such as photos, videos or Discord messages may be found and then safely archived, though a lot of media is just a lost cause. As mentioned in a few of the previous entries, there are quite a few pieces of lost media in the LOM. As the title says, Chris is in fact trans. There have been many sources for this, with it starting many years ago during a D&D campaign where Chris's character had their penis removed and became a woman. Another reason pointing to this is Chris's KFC addiction. Referring back to the entry from higher up on the Iceberg, the LOM would make jokes about the estrogen inclusion in KFC chicken, and that it was going to turn Chris into a woman due to the obscene amount of it that he ate. Pretty sure that there's much more that goes into this, but that'd just be theorising at this point. The 2 points we've just explained aren't technically false, so therefore, Chris is canonically trans.
A fun activity that has happened a few times is doxing. Mostly Chris just doxing Gabe. Izzy has also had a crack at this too, doxing Gabe on a live stream. Aside from Gabe, most of the rest of the LOM are safe from doxing, unless some information slips through the cracks. Christopher lives.
The LOM doesn't necessarily hide this, as depending on where you look, it's on full show for everyone to see. The LOM is actually just a big Garfield cult. Even before Poppy freed Garfield from his banishment and brought him back to the LOM, the cult was still strong without them. Joe, Gabe and Zach managed to successfully take over the LOM with Garfield many years ago, making the cult stronger. Izzy must represent the ones who want to purge the world of any love in humans, seeing as she's a rogue AI, but we won't get into that again now. One might think the cult has been destroyed, though the LOM itself is the cult, so unless the LOM is destroyed, the cult will never go away. Garfield is here to stay. In early 2023, Billy would move to Australia, but did he really though? Judging from the amount of mayhem he would cause for the fun of it, it feels like Billy was forced to leave the UK. He may have fled from the government's grasp at the last second and started anew in Australia where he would do it all again. Makes sense he moved to Australia considering it isn't actually a real place, so no one would ever think to look there. Maybe Izzy could move in with him too at some point, you know? Despite the large chart of people connected to and part of the LOM, there are still some that went forgotten and were never mentioned ever again. These are the lost LOM members. Some of these people may have been regulars in the LOM during high school and sixth form, but have since been left behind or they themselves cut off the LOM out of their life. Haha, I don't know why anyone would do that. Haha, haha. In 2022, Brian Griffin would actually die via getting run over due to the machinations of Sheldon Cooper. The leaked footage can actually be found on Lomcast. However, Brian has since made public appearances in person and in media since this event took place, which implies he somehow came back or survived getting run over.
This one speaks for itself really. The funny man is a member of the League of Antis, who many used to consider a close friend and a humorous guy. He did make several iconic videos on the LOM YouTube channel, and often made everyone laugh. But upon looking back, we all agree that his form of humour was very repetitive, and we only laughed because he would just repeat things until they were funny, when actually, they weren't. Also, his hairline looks like the McDonald's M.
A homosexual hive mind is what the LOM is. A bunch of people who claim to be straight and how much they love women, but this is clearly just a facade. Aside from Chris, who is dubbed the straightest man in the village, most of the LOM have at least some fruity tendencies to them. Could this have been the result of Sam on the LOM, spreading the woke mind virus into our beloved friends? It would seem so, despite his alleged gaydar not even working on most people. Most of the LOM are actually members of the LGBTQ. We're just waiting on that Gabe reveal to be any day now. Looking deeper into Joseph's basics, one may see it as a purgatory Chris is trapped within. The building slowly turning red may represent the depths of hell opening up, with Joe dragging him down. Managing to escape the building would allow Chris to leave purgatory and enter heaven. This may be related to why Joe is shown being crucified on the windscreen of the game. In party mode, a different outcome occurs when reaching the final exit. The LOM would allow Chris to rise into the air to blow out a candle. Doing so causes strange events to occur. This could represent a trap that Chris and the LOM did not truly ascend to heaven and are now trapped in an even worse purgatory for the rest of their days. Could Kyle in Joseph's basics represent some sort of antichrist or demon? The aggressive nature of Kyle and how he treats the environment could make it seem so. Chris killing him causes many situations to change for the better. He could represent the snake that tried to convince Adam to eat the apple in the same way he tried to convince Chris to destroy the game.
Gabe actually fell into a deep coma in 2020 after catching a severe strain of COVID-19. After this happened, and during the pandemic, the rest of the LOM slowly grew apart and lost contact, as the memories were just too hard to bear. It is heavily theorised that everything that has happened since then was not real, and has just been a figment of Gabe's imagination. No one can verify these claims, however, as we do not actually exist in the way that Gabe dreams us.
In January of 2024, a funeral was faked in order to get someone in the LOM a day off of work to attend a party. The LOM even decided who it was that died for the funeral, the person being a mysterious person we all knew in school that would often disappear for months at a time. This person is now canonically dead in the LOM and maybe even real life. Sam's never-ending headcount list was shared many times of the LOM even if you did not ask at all. Though, what if the actual meaning of this list was lost in translation? What if the list was actually a kill count and all of these people were actually murdered by Sam but no one batted an eye to it due to the nature of him explaining what actually happened? What if the LOM didn't actually stand for League of Mothers? Could it possibly mean something else? Land of Mario? Lovers of Mid? Lesbians of Merseyside? Lost Ones Mourn? No one can truly say, but the mystery is out there of what the true secrets of the LOM are and what they're hiding from the public. Are we just gonna sit here and act like there's absolutely nothing wrong with the fact that Matt just speaks to Barry in conversation like there's just nothing wrong with that? Sorry to ruin the magic, but that's a plushie. I should know, I've seen it myself. And usually, those cannot speak unless they have a voice box. Voice boxes only have a limited number of pre-recorded lines inside of them, so unless a highly intelligent AI is inside of Barry that can speak to Matt and respond to him, something's kind of fishy about this. This can't be the case, as Barry was created many years ago before technology had advanced enough for human AI to be put inside of him. What if Barry was actually haunted this whole time? Barry may have been a real human whose soul was trapped inside the plush of Barry the Broommaid. Why Matt may have done this just creates more questions. Could the plush be trying to do its own devious acts and trying to take revenge upon the world? So, that's the League of Mothers. What did you think? Are you confused? Scarred? Maybe even entertained? Well, hopefully it was that last one and you continue to stick around for many more years of amazing memories and fun times to be had with the LOM. We may do a much shorter follow-up to this chart one day if there's enough entries to add, But for now, that's all from us. Thank you for watching the entire video if you actually did, and I hope you have a nice day. Bye bye!